Hello. Today, I'd like to talk to you all about crisis management and the importance of strong leadership at water utilities. So, if you think about it, water utilities are society's most critical infrastructure when it comes to public health and quality of life. Having access to clean water is a tenet of modern society. So, when disturbances in our access to clean water occur, the consequences can be catastrophic. So, now I want to talk to you about what a crisis at a water utility might look like. Most of the time, a crisis occurs when that utility cannot successfully treat or move the water. So that means delivering water from water plants and receiving water at wastewater plants. How these kinds of disruptions can happen varies. We can think about natural disasters and severe weather events. There are operational and equipment failures, and even cyber attacks and security threats are potential risks to our water infrastructure. So, with all these potential risks, how do we avoid catastrophe when a crisis occurs? Well, the simple answer is the key to avoiding catastrophe when a crisis occurs is being prepared with the right leadership in place. Each and every water utility is different, right? They all have their own unique challenges for serving their communities. For example, a water utility in South Florida might focus on being prepared against strong winds and flooding, while a utility in Northern California might focus more on being prepared for water shortages and forest fires. However, regardless of a utility's size and the types of threats that could compromise its operation, having a system in place with a clear leadership structure to respond to a crisis event is a critical aspect of any water utility. Now, you may be asking yourself what a successful response to a crisis at a water utility looks like. This can vary depending on the magnitude and type of crisis, but ultimately, a successful response minimizes the duration of service disruptions and harm to the community. This is achieved by what we like to call having a culture of preparedness. All right, so being prepared to respond in an emergency situation is crucial to minimizing consequences, but how does a utility prepare itself and build that culture of preparedness? Well, first, you need to understand your utility and its surrounding environment. Knowing the types of disaster events or crises your utility is susceptible to is the first step in understanding how to avoid catastrophe when an emergency occurs. This understanding will allow design engineers and operation managers to use that information to incorporate safety features and redundancies into their design and standard operating procedures. A good design example is elevated electrical control rooms being built above the flood levels and using waterproof components that protect the critical systems from water damage during floods. A good operational example might be an emergency bypass and overflow protocols that manage excess flows during heavy rain. By diverting or partially treating the wastewater, a utility can prevent untreated discharges and be able to ensure compliance. So the next step in building a strong culture of preparedness is being able to leverage the systems and operational processes that may already be in place. This can streamline the response to an emergency situation. This might include adopting or adapting emergency response plans, communication protocols, and operational workflows. Just in the example previously mentioned, procedures are in place for operations teams to follow during certain events in order to reduce risk and keep the water flowing. Next, and perhaps most importantly, strong and empowered leadership with a well-defined chain of communication is crucial for successfully responding to a crisis. Strong leadership will ensure that the utility is designed and operates in a way that minimizes the effects of a crisis. They will know how to leverage the existing systems and protocols to respond to emergencies, and more than anything else, they will now know how to leverage the people into teams, taking advantage of everyone's individual strengths and working together so that the utility can return to normal operation as quickly as possible. Lastly, building a strong culture of preparedness requires everyone, from top administrators all the way down to the individual unit operators, to understand their role and responsibilities when a crisis occurs. This means that utilities must practice. The moment a crisis strikes should never be the first time a utility exercises its emergency response plan. You must have routinely scheduled drills and simulations. This will ensure employees understand their responsibilities and will ultimately help build that culture of preparedness. As the world faces more uncertainty regarding climate change, geopolitics, and cyber attacks, water utilities face a multitude of threats to their operation and their infrastructure. As mentioned earlier, water utility service is absolutely crucial for maintaining public health and quality of life. Therefore, in times of crisis, water utilities must be more than operators. They must be calm, they must be decisive, and they must be prepared. By building a strong culture of readiness, designing with resilience in mind, and continuously training their teams, utilities can protect their communities when it matters most. Because in the end, leadership is not just about managing systems, it's about safeguarding lives. Thank you.